Welcome to another episode of Next in Tech with London Drugs. If this is your first time, my name is Kyle, and I've been with London Drugs in the tech department for 26 years.
I'm Ricky, looking at about 20 years at this point. So that puts, 46 years between us?
All right, Ricky. Today we are talking about content creation, but with an emphasis on mirrorless cameras. I mean, obviously, everybody is creating content. We're posting it everywhere. It's an awesome time. But mirrorless cameras, first of all, what is a mirrorless camera?
It's not a mirrored camera.
Okay, good.
Generations have moved on. We've moved into different cameras and spheres and that kind of thing. And no matter how sarcastic that may have sounded to you, and I'm sorry, it is exactly what it sounds like. Is your old style digital, single lens reflex camera had a lens inside that would, have a little mirror, it reflected the image, and that's how you got to it. Kind of back to the old film days. Okay. New cameras, you pull your lens off and your sensor is right there underneath. So mirrorless is a much more kind of compact camera.
Okay, so
have you ever shot with a camera before?
Yeah, definitely we called them DSLRs. Yeah, same idea.
Yeah, so exactly. They've just moved to a new iteration. So think maybe half the weight, much faster, because that lens, that mirror inside's not having to trigger every time. Even frame rate, something like that is just so much faster. And less moving parts.
As content creators for social media or any platform, we can create a lot of content on our smartphones, which a lot of people are doing.
Yeah.
But some, are moving towards these mirrorless cameras. So what are we gaining when we go to a mirrorless camera that I can't do on my phone?
My sarcastic self, again, wanted to say everything, but not necessarily true. When you think of these mirrorless cameras, I briefly mentioned it a second ago, is how big that sensor is. So when you pull that lens off, you have a sensor underneath, and that sensor is what's going to collect the information of that photo. So how much light's coming in, color, so much of that. And that's where a phone really lacks. The phones have come a long way. And the best camera is the camera you have in your pocket. And most of the time, that's going to be your smartphone. But these cameras with the lenses, look at my phone, right? I have 3 lenses on there, and they're tiny. When I pull out my camera lens, it's about yay big. There's way more just being captured inside of their natural lighting. I would say it's easier to grab that beautiful shot probably with a mirrorless camera than it would be with my phone, just because of how much more work that camera can do for me.
Interesting. So funny story on that. My wife has a DSLR, and whenever I'm taking shots of our family, especially at the holidays and whatnot, she always says to me, "Don't zoom in," because she says I can zoom in afterwards, right? So of course I always zoom in,
of course,
just to get this. So I drive her nuts when I take pictures, but that makes sense. So it's just a better quality camera. You're getting more content, more light. Excellent.
Funny enough, just so you know, I'm with your wife on that one. Don't zoom in.
I know that.
Because there is so much more photo that you can play with,
right?
Especially for aspect ratios and things like that, that if you zoom in, you've taken all of that choice away. You can only do the exact option of what you've took.
That's why I always zoom in.
Okay, anyways, fair enough.
It drives her crazy.
Yeah, I can tell.
So if you're a content creator, what specs should you be looking for in these mirrorless cameras to get into the best content creation you can get out there?
Have you seen any of the new super compact vlogging cameras? Sony does a few. Fuji's pretty big in it.
Yep.
Sony ZV-2, something along those lines. I've used it in store to actually film video and that kind of thing. Super compact. It just works how you want it to without having a whole bunch of changes to the camera. It's set it up on a little tripod. It's very, very high quality. Actually, we've done a Teams call, and I plugged the camera into my computer and used it as my webcam, and it was like, oh, look at that video.
Wow.
So much different things that those little cameras can do without having the backpack of lenses I may drag with me. I've got a rep who I'm imagining in my head, and he brings this duffel bag full of lenses, and I'm like, that's amazing. And I've seen his shots, and they're amazing. Wow. But that's a big duffel bag full of glass, and it's heavy. It really comes down to the person, and that's what our tech specialists are going to ask you in store. They're going to go, here's this whole giant cabinet of things. Let's narrow you down to 2-3 cameras.
That's excellent. So what about we see what we used to call them old point and shoots, smaller cameras. Yeah. Apparently they're making a comeback. And what about that for content creation? Is that an option?
Yes and no. The smartphone ate most of that category, unfortunately. So again, when I started selling cameras 15 years ago, I had a full showcase with probably, let's call it 20 to 30 point and shoot cameras. Nowadays, we see like 3. But from those point and shoot cameras, what I find one of my favorite things to do, and actually from some of the mirrorless cameras as well, is I will shoot that video, that shot, whatever else, and then I'll whip out my smartphone and I'll connect through the app and I will move that content to my phone where I can then edit and post-production, that kind of thing, somewhat from my phone before using like a computer or something along those lines.
If a customer like myself who came in, who doesn't have a mirrorless camera that wants to get into this world, especially with content creation in mind, where do I even start?
Again, it's a bit of a struggle and it's going to be some questions. Like my first question would probably be to you, what's your current camera?
Okay.
And you're like, I don't know, the wife takes all the pictures and I just ruin them by zooming in. That's okay. Let's pretend for a moment maybe it's a Nikon. If you come in with a Nikon and you're like, hey, I've got a bunch of beautiful glass that I've used for years and like, this is my camera. I've loved it. It's went on trips with me. You'll be surprised how many people have a sentimental value to their camera long beyond what the camera is, capable of doing. I might show you the Nikon mirrorless cameras at that point because you can take those, nice glass lenses, put them into an adapter and put that onto your new mirrorless camera. Yeah, it's not as compact as the new lenses would be, but it takes some of that sting out of that first upgrade moving from one system to the other system. That being said, if you have some change you want to spend, we could just fully move you over to that new system entirely. Okay. So it really depends on what you're coming in with. Canon, Nikon, Sony, they all have their real strengths to them. Fuji has been sold out of like every major camera launch for the last, 4 or 5 years. They are a very heavy in the kind of social media marketing side of things nowadays. Like I think the wait list for the current one's like 6 months or something like that, which is just amazing when you think about it, right? Like that's how deep they've been able to market their devices and their cameras and what they're capable of doing. Back to that processing of what you can do on the camera body, Fuji did a lot of work to make sure that you can do a lot of photo edits right on the camera. And they can all do it to a certain extent, but that one always sticks out to me as like okay, you guys were really thinking back to that grainy film kind of look and that thing.
Okay, so all I just heard was come into London Drugs, we'll ask you some questions, we'll make it easy.
We got specialists, come talk to us, we'll figure it out.
Okay,
yeah.
That's all I need to know. Perfect, I love it. Okay, so obviously accessories are a big thing. Somebody who doesn't have a mirrorless camera, they're gonna come in. What's the main accessory that we should be looking at?
Peak Design makes these beautiful straps. And that is my go-to accessory every time. It's soft, it has full camera range motion. All of their accessories use the little push pin things that let you slide out of one accessory and into the other. They're fantastic. I have their packing cubes and everything now. Like as a brand, I really like what they do. To somebody who doesn't have a camera previously, really there's probably actually 2 other accessories. Everybody needs a memory card before they walk out of the store.
Okay.
Maybe you have some at home, maybe that's not for you, but none of these cameras are going to take a photo if you can't store that photo somewhere, and that's where that memory card comes into play. That memory card can be one of like 50 different memory cards I have on the wall, and that's where that specialist is going to help you with whatever camera you're getting and what, maybe that will be. But the memory card is the required accessory. I have tried my absolute best to be a night photographer, and I'm talking like stars and the moon, and every time I went to do it is the moment I remember my tripod's in my storage locker, it's not in my house, and I do not have it with me. And every time I regret not having that tripod with me. I remember, was it like a blood moon or something recently? And I was out at like a nice beach and I was like, we're all set. And there's my camera with 2 rocks underneath of it, pointing it at the sky with a tilted out screen and just fingers crossed of like, don't move for this long exposure shot. Please don't move.
Interesting.
I moved, so I needed to bring my tripod.
Okay, interesting. And I would have never thought of a strap. So what's the deal there? Is it just more comfortable?
More comfortable. My original strap is very narrow. It's a lot of weight into one spot. And again, it's just one of those things that when you're carrying backpacks, cameras, everything else, the more comfortable something is, the better. And I don't know, I just really like it. Overall,
what is the main reason? We're talking about AI. There's lots of different reasons we should be upgrading our camera for content creation, but just give us a quick summary. Why am I putting my phone back in my pocket and I'm going mirrorless if I want to create content?
AI or whatever system you're going to be working with, maybe it's just Photoshop. Maybe you're still, using, your own tools of what you've learned over the many, many years to make that photo your own photo. What you get through that camera lens is what your eye sees. It's that sensor itself back to the lens. It's just capturing that image at such a higher quality to then go into post-production and work with. So yes, it could be AI, like even within Photoshop, there's tools inside of there that heavily utilize AI nowadays. I am awful with Photoshop, so it takes me a while and I'm not great. So I will probably use those tools more as I go forward. But really it's just how much information that photo has, and that's the digital world, right? The larger the file you're working with when you're you're giving information to an algorithm or something, the more it has to work with.
Excellent. So if you want to level your game up, mirrorless camera is the way to go.
I think so. They're beautiful.
So what about those of us that maybe have an older, say, DSLR camera and we want to jump into the mirrorless world? Are there any options for us?
Yeah, like we have the trade-in, trade-up program. You can bring in your older gear, trade it towards newer gear, or, maybe you're just looking for maybe older gear or something that's not the newest of new. We do have most stores with a used cabinet as well, where you can look at what's in there and, maybe find yourself a special deal.
Perfect.
Pivoting to upkeep of your cameras, though, what can London Drugs offer in that sense?
You bet. We have lots of services available at London Drugs for cameras. We can do full body cleanings. Obviously, you get out, you get at the beach, you're in the mountains, it gets dirty. We can do sensor cleanings, both wet and dry. Every time you take that lens off your camera, there's potential for just micro debris to get in on that lens.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't even show up in the picture as debris. It's just like a little, smudge.
Yeah.
So we can get in there with the proper tools and training, and we can clean those sensors. And then we also do firmware upgrades as well. So if your camera needs a new firmware upgrade, bring it into any London Drug store, and we will be happy to help with that as well.
People would be quite surprised what a firmware upgrade can do to new cameras nowadays. It is really something.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. And I sure hope you learned as much about mirrorless cameras as I did. Stay tuned for our next episode and never miss out on what's next in tech.